What's up, everybody? Against the Spread podcast. We are back, college edition. I got my boy Rich and Brennan with me. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good. Thanksgiving week, holidays, it's the best time of the year.
Hey, big games to look back on, big games to look ahead to, man. I'm excited.
No, yeah, of course. A lot of stuff happened this past week. I kind of want to jump into some current events right before we jump into our upcoming games, especially that Texas A&M hires. So Elko is in at Texas A&M. Jimbo's out. Kind of a confusing little thing happened late at night. I think it was the day before Elko gets hired. You see all this stuff on the internet about Stoops getting hired at Texas A&M, and it's a done deal. They're just waiting for it to get signed. All this. You see everybody on Twitter talking about how this is an awful decision. All the fans are saying this guy's awful. Don't understand it. He's at Kentucky. He's a mid-program guy. He's not a Texas A&M guy. Has no ties to the state. Has no ties to the program. Blah, blah, blah. Elko's name gets brought up the next night, and positive feedback. Hey, this guy was great for us. Defensive coordinator, great guy. Turns out they think he can turn the program around. And then Texas A&M kind of secures that bag, gets that officially going in. And now we are with one less quarterback in the coaching carousel. Any thoughts on this, guys?
Beach, you can go first on this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a decent hire. I like the way he coaches, that he brought Duke for a school who doesn't do very well in recruiting. He brought Duke to a decent team. I mean, his record over the 2 years for a basketball school was 16-9, played physical football, but I mean, and he was the Texas A&M defensive coordinator under Jimbo Fisher for 4 years. So, I mean, he's got some history there. They probably like his style, and for a defensive-minded guy to come there, that's gonna be good for them, because they do have stout players on the defensive side of the ball. So,
yep, and I agree. I agree completely. I think it's funny though that the Texas A&M fans, they just booted Stoops out by themselves. Apparently, he was on a plane, landed. And then they told him, hey, go back home. We'll see you later. And then, later in the day, you hear Elko. I just thought that was interesting to me.
No, it's very interesting. I think that Texas A&M is one of these programs where the fan base has a lot of decision-making power. They definitely gauge their fans a lot and see what they like, what they don't like, who they like, if it's a good hire for them. They're we want to make our fan base happy. We're going to put money into this guy. We want to make our fan base happy before anything. So if the results aren't there, they can just get this guy gone, but they want to make the fan base happy over everything. So we'll see if it works out. I don't think it's an awful hire. I'd like to see how he does in a head coaching role at a big program with a good amount of money. I don't think he's done bad at Duke. I think he's actually done pretty well. So we'll see how it goes. Let's hop into this recap, guys. First game of the week we have is going to be Ohio State and Michigan, 30-24. Michigan gets the dub here. This was a tough one, man. I know me and Brennan especially really liked Ohio State +3 in this game, +3.5 actually. I thought they were going to win outright. It's kind of a confusing game for me because I don't feel like there was much offense on either side of the ball, but when it comes down to who's going to win this game, you see that Ohio State Kyle McCord more specifically had 2 interceptions, and that's kind of the difference in the game. It's a 2-score game, and Kyle McCord ends up losing the game for you. You don't think he's going to win it for you. He hasn't really done well all season. It's kind of something I've been bringing up about, is Kyle McCord really the guy? Is he going to be able to get this team rolling? And that's something we talked about. Are they going to be able to come from behind? They weren't able to. They could not push the ball down the field when it really counted. And on the other side, Michigan's defense played phenomenal, and J.J. McCarthy put some balls on a dime, on a rope, exactly where it needed to go. Now, he didn't play incredible, but he played good enough for them to win. Now, is that all he's going to have to do for the rest of the year is play good enough for them to win? I don't know, guys. This is I'm going to pass this over to you guys. Brennan, you go first. Tell me what you thought about the game. I know you had a bet on it. So
Yeah, no, it was upsetting bet. Ohio State missed a field goal at the end of the first half to, would have covered if they didn't miss it, but you can't complain about a guy missing a 52-yarder in a stadium that big with that many people yelling at you. But hey, first time the Buckeyes have lost 3 straight to Michigan since 1995 through 97. Yeah, I mean, keep this simple. We're going to see a theme throughout these rivalry games. When you're in rivalry week, these games are always typically going to be so close that turnovers are going to matter the most. And what did we have on, 4 drives, all punts to start the game? Ohio State started with the ball. They're going on their 3rd drive on their own side of the field, and boom, interception. Michigan returns it to the 7, 3 or 4 plays later, runs in a touchdown. I mean, you just can't give a team at home with that many fans that kind of juice in the beginning of the game. I mean,
free touchdown. Free.
Yeah, exactly. It's a free touchdown. So, I mean, Ohio State looked fine. They looked like they could handle it, but at the end of the day, the better team won in my eyes. That defense is very good. Like you said, McCarthy, nothing impressive really, but he did throw a few good balls in there that, maybe 3rd downs, long 2nd downs, whatever they needed it. But hey, let's talk about that. I'd like to talk about that touchdown. What did you guys think about that touchdown they threw that kind of got knocked loose, and Ohio State ended up with the ball in the end zone? I mean, that's a game changer. You lose by 6 points, and that's a touchdown that could have been taken back. So I kind of wanted to hear y'all's thoughts on that.
That throw was insane, first off. But
Yeah.
I will say this: if
that's what I'm talking about. He puts it on a dime.
Safety has his head up for like 1 more second, we're talking a pick going the other way, and they don't even score the touchdown. But even then, he threaded a needle, and then the guy bobbled it, and 1 more millimeter, it would have been a fumble or a pick going the other way again. So, I mean, you talk about margins in this game. It's like insanely slim margins just for, little stuff like that. I think it was, at the end of the day, I think this game was evenly matched. But I do want to talk about this, the nutsack on Sharon Moore. Like that guy, for a guy that hasn't been in the spot before, he coached like he had been playing in this rivalry for years, and he did not care at all. He went for it, I think, 3 times on 4th down and hit every single one with great calls. I mean, granted, most of them were running right up the middle, but he did have that one pass play to the tight end. And I think Ryan Day, some of his calls were harder, yeah, but you had the one at the beginning of the game is the most vivid in my memory, where it was like you're on your own. It was like 45, maybe closer to the 48, and he ended up. It was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, but he ended up punting the ball and only getting like a 36-yard punt, which didn't flip field position at all. And on top of that, it didn't give your team any momentum. So I think, and then at the end of the half, Ryan Day was that field goal that was the 3.5. He ended up playing for the field goal instead of, maybe trying to get that 1st down and maybe taking a couple shots to Marvin Harrison.
Because he didn't trust his offense. He didn't trust his offense. He didn't trust his quarterback to push the ball down the field. That's why you could tell he knew he was in trouble when they went down. Because he knew when they started having it's like Drew Aller from Penn State. When they get down, it's like they're scared to push the ball because they know they can't. Like they're nervous. And he made simple mistakes. Like it wasn't like, oh shit, like they're confusing. No. You got a wide open guy and you got a guy that's covered. Those are the covered guy. Those are pick. You got a guy that's running down the seam, safety, and the linebacker turn towards the other guy. You throw it to the guy that's double covered, not the guy that's by himself. It's just simple things. I think he gets confused and I think he gets rattled. And it looked like it. And it looked like he wasn't playing to the best of his abilities. And I think he is playing at the max of his abilities. That's the problem.
That's the issue. Yeah. He sucks.
Yeah, exactly. So I think don't be surprised if you see Ohio State hop in that portal for a QB. That's all I'm saying. And there's a couple good ones out there. Let's go ahead and go to the next game. Kentucky, Louisville, 38-31. Kentucky pulls this one out. This was one that we talked about and we thought was going to be a closer one anyway. We thought that Louisville was going to pull it out, though. Turns out Kentucky had a phenomenal game because of some of the things we talked about. I know we said, hey, Leary's got to have a great game. He's got to put on a performance, and he's got to throw the ball like we know he can. He has to be able to hit these shots, and he has to be able to start dinking and dunking and actually getting stuff going. They can't just rely on the run game. He had a day. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but he still had a great game. And I think that's one of the reasons why they win this game is because, one, offense actually helped them out a lot in this game. And then 2, their defense gets 3 turnovers. Louisville throws an interception, has 2 fumbles. They put on the ground. They lose both balls. Kentucky takes advantage of it and scores on short fields. You can't give a well-coached team short fields and turnovers. If you lose a turnover battle, especially with how this is a rivalry game as well, it's not going to really go in your favor 9 times out of 10. And just because you're a highly ranked team because you've won your games does not mean you are going to just automatically win this game because you're better than the team. It's not how it works. Everyone knows that when it comes to this last week of the season, it doesn't matter what your rank is, how good you've played the whole year. It doesn't matter. Your rival is going to play you as hard as they can. It is their Super Bowl, and it should be yours as well. And when teams don't take it as serious as other guys, you get this game. You get a game where I think Louisville should have rolled. I think their offense should have rolled. It didn't. And they struggled. And so now you get a 38-31 loss, and you go into the ACC championship on a loss, and you should be going in there with your head up. And instead, now you have nothing to play for, in my opinion, except for, you do have a better bowl game to play for. But I don't know. It hurts them. It hurts their chances a lot at getting a New Year's Six and some of those things. So
they don't even have the right to bitch about not getting in the playoffs now. Like that 11-1.
I don't think they didn't have a right anyway, in my opinion, with how weak their schedule was. But there was some sort of argument with, like, we're a 1-loss team. You're not even close to the best 1-loss team. But even if they would have beat Florida State, because the main argument would have been, oh, your best game is against a Florida State team that lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
So,
no, but I'm saying they don't even have the right to bitch about it because they can't be 12-1.
No.
And it's like,
no,
I don't know. It just feels really deflating for them because that was like a pretty big choke job, in my opinion. I didn't watch much of the game, but I saw it was 17-7, and I said, okay, Louisville's about to take care of business. And then, I'd flip it back on, and the score's like 24-21 going into the fourth.
There was three or four touchdowns in the fourth quarter, like a kick return or a punt return. I can't remember exactly which one it was. And then there was a long touchdown. Just a lot of things happened in that third quarter. That was a really entertaining third quarter. And that third quarter started before a couple other games. So I actually had a chance to watch all those scoring happening. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a game. So, it was really an entertaining game to watch, but you could slowly see like Louisville dropping down to their opponent. They were playing with their opponent, and I hate when teams do this. They play down with their opponents, and it hurts a lot of teams, especially teams that don't have a reason to get up for games.
Yeah. So. Well, turnovers taken out of the scenario. Listen to the stat line. We got 403 yards from Louisville to 289 by Kentucky.
Yeah.
We got 242 passing yards, 206. And if you told me Kentucky was going to go into this game and rush for 83 yards and somehow win, to Louisville's 161.
Yeah, I told you last week. Louisville's got like the 11th best run defense.
I was gonna say their offense is really balanced, and they've done really well at slinging the ball around. So I thought they were going to come in here and take advantage of Kentucky's zone defense that they run, like Georgia did, and dice them up a little bit. And it really turned out that Kentucky just schemed up really, really good defense against this Louisville team, and they played really physical. So they caused these fumbles. Their defensive line was getting back in the backfield and causing a lot of havoc. And whenever you get into a team, whenever your line of scrimmage play is better than the opposing line of scrimmage, 9 times out of 10 you win that game, and you're going to cause havoc. And that's what happened. So the end of the score at the end of the game does show that it doesn't show how close of a game it was at one point. It shows a lot of points, and I don't think that really tells the game because there was a lot of explosive plays in that third quarter. But it was a very big defensive game for Kentucky, and they played really, really well. I will say that Kentucky played
at the end
really
of the day, like I said, that reoccurring theme that's going to pop up is in these rivalry games, turnovers going to win the game. I mean, Kentucky won this game by 7 points, and Kentucky got 10 points off of those fumbles that Louisville had on their own side of the field. So that right there, that's the game changer. Yes. Kentucky, and they were just efficient with the opportunities they had. They didn't waste time. They scored, and they took advantage of those opportunities.
Yep, I agree. Let's head on to this next game. We got Alabama and Auburn. Huge game for you, Brennan, obviously, but a huge game for the country. I mean, you get a 27-24 game, doesn't matter who the teams are, it's always going to be fun, but especially when you get it in an Iron Bowl. And it was something that Brennan talked about last week. He was like, I don't give a shit how bad Auburn is or how bad everybody thinks they are. When we play in the Iron Bowl against them, I'm nervous every time. And I'm kind of like confused about that or on the edge. I was on the edge about it because
only in Jordan.
Exactly. Yeah. I know because before that it was 4-4 in Jordan Hare, which is kind of crazy that Nick Saban has been 4-4 there as a coach. But I would just think that first of all, I didn't think it was going to be 4-4 at all. I didn't think that was going to be the case. And at Jordan Hare with Nick Saban being there. And then second of all, I didn't think Auburn was going to be able to play with Alabama because the reason why is because I think Alabama's been on the uphill and they're ascending, and Auburn's been going downhill, especially after that New Mexico State loss. And it kind of looks like, obviously now, Auburn was 100% planning for Bama last week as well. Like, we can go ahead and say that, right? Like, that was clearly what happened because they were prepared for Jalen Milroe and this offense. The thing is, like, explosive plays won this game for Alabama, right? That's what I like. Their 4th and 31 to end the game obviously was an explosive play, but
call of all time, yeah.
But also the long touchdown to Jermaine Burton was also an explosive play, and then they also had another one. They also had another one as well. So they won on explosive plays, in my opinion, but I do think it wasn't like Alabama was running them and just like sustaining success like that. They weren't constantly going down the field and marching on them. I think that Auburn played really above their means, and Auburn's offense also ran all over Alabama. I mean, all over them. And Auburn did the same thing to Georgia. I think they used their quarterback a little bit more against Georgia than they did against Alabama. I think they mainly just ran their running backs and just ran a lot to the outside and just thought, hey, we're going to win with speed. We're going to outblock you. So, and they did. I mean, they just outblocked Alabama and got through a hole, and they were like, hey, we're going to have to get by your safety, and that's it. And they did it like 3 different times. So it was a great game to watch. I really enjoyed it. But Brennan, I want to kind of get your opinion and how it was coming from your point of view.
Hey, move over, kick 6. 4th and 31's the new king in town, baby. About time we had a miracle. I mean, I will say over the years we've had some pretty crazy last-minute drives against them.
Yeah,
but, that was absolutely nuts, man. I checked us off after we snapped that ball and we go back 30 yards. I'm like, oh, here we go. Not expecting that whatsoever.
I thought y'all were winning before that. Before that snap, I was like, they're gonna win. And then that snap happened. And I was like, oh shit, Auburn is.
I mean, man, dude, that was just, it was rough to watch them just run all over us because you knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, and dude, those holes
can't throw. They cannot throw.
Yeah, they had 17 passing attempts. I can't remember what he completed.
91 yards.
Yeah, 6 for 17 with 93 yards. It's like, and you're telling me we only win, and we win the turnover battle 3-0, and we win by 3 points. That's freaking Jordan Hare Stadium right there.
Yeah.
I mean, but I just want to bring this up. There was definitely a lot of calls in that game, which, I mean, you could always say this biasly, but wow, were we getting screwed, I thought, on a lot of freaking calls. Yeah, they missed the face mask call in the first play of the game. Who cares? That wasn't going to turn the game like some later on important calls, like them shifting 3 people at the same time, which is not legal.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
We got called because our guys moved on it. And then also the punt rule is the
that's
that
the
that
dumbest
freaking
fucking rule I've ever heard in my life.
You call fair
guys,
catch.
that's been a rule for a long time.
I
Like
mean,
that's just the first time it's affected your team.
Yeah,
but it's been around for a long time.
I was sitting. I mean, I guess I didn't realize that was a true rule. I'm sitting there like, why the like did he go down? Like what happened?
I was doing
like touchdown.
Yeah, I'm like touchdown, Bama. Come on, roll tide. and then they're like calling it back, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? So I mean, we wouldn't even have been in that 4th and 31 situation. We would have had that touchdown. I mean, so I was just.
Hey, but how about what a choke job? What a choke job by that kick returner or punt returner to fucking muff it. Dude, you know what's crazy? I literally was like, all right, I'm going to turn the channel. Like, they're going to fucking get the ball back and go. So I literally was going to change the channel and I grabbed the remote. And he fucking – because I just want to watch. I'm like, you never know what can happen on a punt. And he muffs it, and I just throw the remote on the ground, and I go – Alabama's so fucking lucky, dude. I was like, this is the luckiest fucking team I've ever seen in my life. Now, before that, when Auburn beat Georgia and Bama in the same year with the kick six and the batted ball in the air, that's just an insane year to have. Like, what a year you have to have. And then they go on to win the national championship, right?
Nope,
or did
they lost it.
They lost to Florida State.
They were up. They got that luck back. They were up 20-21 to nothing at half, and ended up losing that game.
That was to Florida State, like James Winston.
Yep. 2013. Yep.
That was crazy. Speaking of Florida State, let's jump into this Florida game. Perfect segue for us. Florida State wins 24-15. I don't even know what to say about this game. Both offenses are pretty fucking bad. I think Florida's quarterback had like 86 yards. Florida State's total offense for the whole entire game was 220 yards. Just awful. I mean, I don't really know how – God, it's so fucked up to say, but I don't think that you can put a team like Florida State into the playoff and really truly think – you're getting the best 4 teams. I don't give a shit on who's the 4 most deserving. Like, you're going to make a Florida State team play Georgia? Do you want them to die? Like, do you want them to get fucking blown out like TCU? Like, it's not going to be a good game. It's not. It's going to be gross. If you think Florida could have won that game.
They could
have won that game, and they had 86 yards passing, and they could have won the game. That's fucking nuts. And it's not like they ran the ball all over them either. It was just a really bad game by both teams. And 24-15 does not really show – that does not tell you how the game went at all. That's not even close to how I thought the game went. It really could be like 14-9 Florida winning. That's a lot better of a score. That's like how I see the game. 14-9 Florida won. Like but I don't know. I think – when you get a guy that comes in quarterback-wise on both sides of the ball that is not very experienced, hasn't had a lot of time in the game, Florida, I think, was going to struggle no matter what. They really didn't even get the ball to their best wide receiver, I think, like twice in that game, and they didn't target him until like the third quarter. And then Florida State their offensive line is just they don't got it. Like, they don't have it. They're getting ran through. They don't have a Jordan Travis back there to get out of the pocket, to go make some plays with his feet, throw the ball downfield, give his guys some time with his legs. They don't have that with Rodemaker. So that's where you're going to struggle one. And then, now we're going to have to watch them next week, which I'm not going to talk about that game right now because we're talking about it later, but just a bad game. And I think that both offenses are bad, and I don't give a shit if this is a rivalry game and it was fun to watch them spit on each other. It was a gross game.
I will give Rodemaker a little bit of credit. It is a hard environment to go into and play. I mean, it's the Swamp, and it's against your rival. First game, like first full game you've started. But yeah, exactly. You're right. That's a shit game. Just terrible. And man, Florida is just so poorly coached, and you can obviously tell. They were up 12 to nothing.
So clear.
When are we going to fire this guy? You have a top 10 recruiting class every single year, and then you come out and you just put shit on the field. You're not even competitive with Georgia. Like, go ahead, Brennan.
I was just going to say, that player freaking smacking his coach's arm off of him. That was just
so.
I just sat there and thought, I was like, bro, if a player hit Kirby Smart and walked back on the field, this motherfucker would have called a timeout and grabbed the kid by his face mask and threw him on the ground. Like, what the fuck? What kind of undisciplined ass team is just hitting a fucking coach and being like, get the fuck off me, boy? Like,
do they not want to play for
Kirby
this
Smart
coach?
would have spazzed out. Kirby would have spazzed.
I don't know.
I can't
Why
even
are
think
we not
about
firing him at this point? It's honestly getting to the point
it's
of a
only
little
his
bit
second
ridiculous.
year.
Yeah,
right?
but
Okay, it's hard to say this because is it a culture problem or is it a guys you recruit problem?
Yeah.
Like, because you have Jimbo who recruited the best guys and then kind of said, hey, I never recruited for character. I recruited solely for talent. And look what he got. He got an undisciplined team. Now, is that what Billy Napier's doing? Is he recruiting good talent and then not worrying about if they're disciplined or not? I don't know. I haven't really gotten that idea from it, but it does kind of look like they let things get to them a little bit more than other teams. So yeah, that can kind of scream, undisciplined. But I think Florida State also showed a lot of they weren't very disciplined in that game, were they? Like, did y'all think Florida State looked like a disciplined team? Like they were doing the same shit back. I mean, even a couple times worse.
More disciplined, a little bit more,
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was all around, in my opinion, not a great game. No one was disciplined. It looked very sloppy. The refs were sloppy too. Like, nothing was getting called correctly, in my opinion. And I don't know. It turned out to be what we kind of thought: a sloppy game with both quarterbacks being bad, and no quarterback. We thought, okay, at least one quarterback's going to emerge as the better one.
Yep.
No, to me, both of them still fucking equally as bad. Maybe in my mind, might have gotten fucking worse. Because I actually thought Florida's quarterback wasn't awful after his game against Missouri, and then I was like, yeah, never mind. I guess Missouri just didn't plan for him, and that's why he looked a little better against Missouri.
We're all worse off for having watched that game.
Yeah, no one. I didn't feel better at all from watching that game, and it was a primetime game too. Fuck off. All right, let's hop into the to our next segment. We got the college football playoff segment. Obviously, this is one of our favorite segments of the week. We get to kind of go in here and discuss all of our picks. We get to compare us against the college football playoff and see what our picks are. So let's go with the college football playoffs picks tonight. They had at number 1 Georgia. Number 2, this is a new one that came out. Obviously, Michigan at number 2. They beat Ohio State last week, so obviously you're going to see that change. We talked about that. 3, I think they have Washington. And then 4, they have Florida State. Okay, this is you kind of expected this. You kind of expected Georgia, Michigan, Washington from last week and from their decisions, right? Then you thought, okay, who's going to be at 4? Is it going to be a Florida State team that struggled against Florida? Are they going to put in a Texas team that looked very good and won 50-something to 7? Or are they going to put, Ohio State at 4 and only move them down 2 spots?
Or Oregon. I mean,
or Oregon. Yeah,
Oregon State.
Yeah, exactly. Oregon State handled their guys, and they did move Oregon up to number 5. I think deservedly so, and they moved Ohio State down to 6. Now, in my opinion, I think Texas could be at 6 or 5 in their rankings. Now, I don't understand. In my opinion, obviously, it's not even in my opinion. Their strength of schedule is way better than Ohio State's. Not even close. So you look at that, and then you look at their ranked wins, Ohio State's, and first of all, that Penn State team is ranked way too fucking high. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Why are they top 10?
No.
What the fuck is that? They are bad.
Yeah,
I have not seen a.
I don't think the Big Ten is ever good, so I always take it with a grain of salt when
Brennan, that's a bad offense. That's a bad offense.
Yeah, but they only looked that bad in the games against the 2 best defenses in college football. I mean, look at what did they just do this past weekend?
Okay, but then you have teams like Ohio or Ole Miss, and they play Georgia and played Alabama, and Georgia and Alabama have two top defenses.
Yeah, that's true.
And guess what? They still scored a good amount of points and didn't look.
They look shitty against Georgia though.
But they still scored against us twice.
That's Georgia.
Penn State ain't even scoring.
That's true.
Penn State didn't even score.
Is very fucking true.
Yeah.
So their offense didn't even move the ball. Their quarterback threw it 8 times and almost threw a pick every fucking time. So I don't know. There's no reason why I'm talking about Penn State. I'm just saying they're a fucking bad team, and I don't give a shit if you say they're good. You're wrong. Okay, let's look at this. Committee basically, they have Texas at 7, Bama at 8. They're basically telling Bama, hey, either way, if you win or lose, I don't think you're going to be in my opinion. I don't see them. I don't see how they jump up from 8 in the top 4. I think there would have to be another loss somewhere in the top 4. I think or FSU would have to lose or something like that. They don't think Bama's the best one-loss team.
Oh yeah. So
Even
you're saying
Washington,
essentially that they are going to lose, or they think Alabama's going to lose to Georgia, or you say even with a win over Georgia, they're not getting in.
Yeah, I'm saying even with a win, I don't know if they get in. Look where the committee has put them. They're at 8. They don't respect them at all.
Hey, I tried to tell y'all this 2 weeks in a row, and y'all like, you're crazy. They're getting in. I was like, dude, they've been talking about it, and the way they
but now the way they're ranking, I agree, Brennan. Now the way they're ranking them, and this is why, I mean, someone else I listened to kind of was talking about it, and he was like, don't say it doesn't matter how they rank these teams, because look at where they have Bama, and this was a couple weeks ago. He was like, they haven't moved, and Bama's beating the shit out of people right now. So if they don't move and then they all of a sudden beat Georgia, they might not be a team in the top 4 that's an SEC team. Now, this is also confusing because you could have Georgia lose to Bama, but do you think they could get in at like 4 if they lost to Bama?
Yeah, do they rank Georgia above Bama at that point?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Would they rank Georgia above Bama because Georgia's the better one-loss team?
Dude, that's just
don't
stupid as shit if they do that.
Because
I don't think so either. I'm just throwing it out. I don't think so either. I don't think they would do that because they wouldn't want to put a team that just lost over a team that beat them. But your problem is you're hurting. That's what sucks about being the SEC, man. We have to play the hardest 2 teams. Like Georgia has to play Bama. Bama has to play Georgia at the end of the season. And these 2 teams are both top 4 teams probably any other year, but this year there's just so many teams. So you look at it and you're like, oh shit, like you can't put both of them in if one loses because you have an undefeated Florida State, you have an undefeated Michigan, you have a 12-1 Oregon maybe, and a 12-1 Texas. That's hard to put another team in. Like, where are you going to fit a Georgia or a Bama with a loss in an SEC championship or without one? Like,
I think Florida State fucks this whole thing up because
they do. They really do. Because
they're not
there.
Good. They're undefeated.
They're just there
not
now.
Very good. Yeah, and if they win out, they're going to put them in. It's gonna suck.
It's kind of like with Cincinnati. Like it's kind of like what Cincinnati had.
Yeah,
they're playing a group of 5 teams, and they get put in because they've been bitching for 2 years that they've been undefeated, and then they finally get put in and they get their ass beat. Obviously, Florida State's playing in the ACC. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. I know, but they're going to get their ass beat if they lost their quarterback. Yeah. Simple as that. They lost their quarterback. And you can't lose your quarterback in the SEC or in the national championship or the playoff and expect to go and beat these teams who are fully healthy. Like it doesn't happen.
Theoretical. If Georgia and Florida State end up playing, what was this choice in us the spread? What would y'all put this spread at?
I put it at 15.5.
What do you think, Brennan?
Yeah. What it was? I mean, I agree with what it was. It was like 14.5. Yeah, 15.5. I'd take Georgia.
I'd go 3 touchdowns almost. Like,
I think Georgia would be
17 points.
Yeah, I would take Georgia. Anything under.
Are you kidding me? With Rodemaker, Georgia would eat that kid alive. They'd probably beat that team 38-0, honestly.
Yeah, but we're saying what the spread would be at. The spread would be at like 15 or 6 or 15 or 14.
I'd still take Georgia.
I would take Georgia hands down, 100%. I would hammer it, and I might even fucking tease that motherfucker down to like Georgia up to 20 minus 24.
Alternate line.
Alternate line, Georgia minus 24. Let's go ahead and we forgot to kind of put ours in here. So let's go ahead and get ours in here before we start, talking about this a little bit more.
Much better ranking.
Yeah, we have our picks kind of beside the college football playoffs. At number 1, we have Georgia. Number 2, we have Michigan. Number 3, we have Oregon. And number 4, newcomer, we have Texas.
Hook 'em.
So, as you guys know, we kind of rank these teams based on who looks the best and who's playing the best at the current moment and who's been on the high, like the hottest run, and who's been playing the most consistent. These are kind of things that we amplify up more than other people and more than the committee. We're looking at consistency, how you're playing at the current moment, who you've beat, how you beat them. Okay. Georgia, obviously, we know Georgia's won. We think Georgia's the most consistent team and the most dominant team. Michigan is the second most consistent team, obviously. Their schedule not as great as Georgia's, but that win that they just had against Ohio State pushes their schedule and their strength of schedule up way more. Oregon goes out and dominates their win last week. I think that we've had them, obviously, in our top 4 for since we started ranking them. Over Washington, and a lot of people were like, why is Washington in? Why is Washington not in? Now look how consistent Oregon has looked, and look at Washington and how non-consistent they've looked.
Yeah, I believe they've only won one out of their last 5 games more than like one score. I think one out of their last 5 games they won by 10. Every other one, the most they've won by is 8. So that's still technically a 1-possession game. So 4 out of their last 5 has been 1-possession games against opponents.
Mediocre teams.
Oregon State, but other than that, nobody.
Oregon State, we can give them a kind of a break in that one. Obviously, it was raining, and so that's a tough one. But it was a tough team. Like Oregon State's not an awful team, but you go and look at Oregon, and they beat the fuck out of them. They rolled them, and that's why we have them so high, because they are a dominant team. They're rolling teams right now that Washington has struggled with or kind of barely beat.
Yep.
And I think that Washington caught them at a great time. And I think that Washington also made Dan Lanning make a bad mistake coaching. And he lost that game for his team wholeheartedly. I don't think they got beat. I think he lost the game for them. And now I think they're going to go. I think they're going to go roll Washington this week. And this is how I think it should look after this week of championship week. And it's what I think it's going to look like. Something like this.
And Dan Lanning's going to bring the same style this week to the. We can talk later, but of
course,
he's going to be aggressive again. And you win some, you lose some when you do that. And I still think Oregon, I think they're going to roll them this week. And then, how about Texas in there? We got Texas in there for the first time.
So, dude,
they're playing better football now. They're playing much better.
This is big. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, and it was, something I think Brennan brought up, and it was like, hey, when are they going to get more consistent? And when are they going to beat these teams by what they should beat them by? And one of the topics I thought we should bring up is how good have they looked the past couple of weeks now that they're putting their foot on the pedal? This is literally what we talked about. Hey, is Texas going to be able to put their foot on the pedal and stop being conservative and just winning these games by, 3, 6?
But let's also be fair, though. I will say, the 2 games they won back-to-back, people want to discredit the 2 games they won back-to-back by 3 points. Like, dude, they didn't have Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
That's what I brought up. I brought that up as well. That's just crazy that people are discrediting their wins.
They played Kansas State, and Kansas State was one of the hottest teams in college football at the time. They squeezed by 3, but they had a backup quarterback in. Then the more questionable one was the TCU game the following week. Like, you're like, you should be able to beat that team by more with or without.
They were beating them though.
I think that's also just them taking their foot off the pedal and taking some guys out and getting some guys some looks that haven't been playing all year and stuff. So I get it. It happens. I don't think their 2D or their backups are as good as their starters at all. Yeah. So that hurts them sometimes when they try to go in and try to play their 2D and get some young guys some reps. And it's hurt them in some games and made them closer than they really are. But when they really need to beat someone's ass, they go and they play like they had the past couple weeks.
Yeah, and I want to see them roll the mullet this week. I want to see them beat the shit out of Oklahoma State, make their statement.
Because they fucked you in a bet before, so you really need them to.
That too, but I really want Texas to roll them this week and really make their case for why they should be that 4 seed.
I agree.
Here's my scenario.
I would still, if I was on the committee, I would still put Texas over Florida State if Florida State plays Louisville by 1 score.
I think that is a very realistic thing that can happen if Florida State loses and Texas rolls. I think it's very realistic that Texas can get in at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here's the scenario you have. Okay. Assuming Florida State gets beat by Louisville. That's what we're all hoping. That's what we all need. Georgia fans, Bama fans. I mean, that's what we want to see so we can just kick them the hell out of there. So we ain't got to piss anybody off that they don't make it. Hey, get them out of there. So you're going to have Michigan as the automatic shoe-in, and then you're going to have 4 teams, in my opinion, fighting for those last 3 spots. You'll have Oregon, Texas, Bama, and Georgia. So you got to pick 3 of those teams, and guess what? 3 of those teams are conference champions. Like, I think you have to put in the conference champions, which unfortunately enough for Georgia, it pains me to say this. And I mean, I hate Georgia. I don't want to play them in the freaking college football playoff, because if we somehow beat them in the SEC championship, I don't think we can beat them twice, just like 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I think you just have to, I don't know. I think you have to respect in some manner the conference champion as a 1-loss team who made it through a tough battle. And typically they do the recency bias. It's like, dude, it sucks that you lose a game at the very end of the season and affects your.
I think it sucks for Washington. Yeah. It could suck for Georgia. Dude, imagine if Michigan loses to Iowa. I don't think it's going to happen, but imagine if, right? Like, I saw Iowa's coach today.
Ohio State's back in somehow.
Iowa's coach today literally said, hey, we could really mess up this college football playoff thing if we beat Michigan, huh? Yeah. Like, he was just so candid about it. He was like, we could really mess all y'all shit up.
And they don't do that.
But the thing is, Michigan's offense doesn't move the ball crazy well, right? Like, they haven't been. The past couple games, they haven't been moving the ball crazy well. I don't even give a shit. They were given a short field 2 times in that Ohio State game.
Yeah.
They didn't move the ball really that well. So what is the chances? Like, do you think Michigan handles Iowa and beats them, by 28, or do you think it's actually a closer game where it's going to be like a 13-3 game or something like that?
Yeah. I will tell you one thing about Michigan though. This year, if they lose their first game, I'm not going to stop hounding them. They're the next Oklahoma of the college football playoff. Like, fucking win one, like it's about time as a program. Y'all step up to the big boy table and y'all start winning a playoff game. I'm not even.
Hey, they play Oregon. They don't beat Oregon.
I agree. I agree. That's but.
I think it would suck if like Georgia had to play Oregon first. Whoever has to play Oregon first is getting the hardest. Like, that's getting the hardest game. Straight up.
Texas is good.
But Texas is good too. Brennan, what I'm saying is this.
With a tear rolling down his
face. please let them put in Texas over, or please let them put in Florida State over Texas.
So I was going to say this.
Georgia will beat the shit out of them. Straight up.
Simpler, more simple scenario. Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Oregon wins. So you have your set 3, or Washington, whoever wins that Pac-12 championship. Those are your set 3. Right. Do they put in Texas over Florida State if Florida State wins their conference championship?
Like I said, Texas has got to roll the mullet. I think
that would be the most.
They have to like.
I think if Texas beats them by like 28 points and Florida State barely wins, they have a huge reason to put in a 12-1 Texas team over a 13-0.
That'll be the most dumbed down version of who's more deserving, as they keep talking about, or who's just the better football team. More deserving, Florida State went undefeated and won the ACC championship. Who's clearly the better football team? Texas. So who do they decide?
Hey, I heard somebody today after we put our graphic together. I was on Twitter. I'm scrolling through it. I see a guy that I follow, and he goes, "Hey, these are the 4 best teams in college football right now," and it's literally ours. Literally in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the exact same as what we have. And I'm like, dude, that's what I'm saying. I don't think people are thinking how we're thinking. We're thinking about the best teams. Now, on the left here, you see the college football playoff. They have the most deserving, probably. On the right, we have who are the best teams in college football right now.
Yeah,
that's the difference. That's the difference in what we have versus what they have.
Yeah, but I think also, like, Florida State's quarterback, if he doesn't play well next week, you've given him 2 weeks. How many weeks did Cardale Jones have? He had 3. 3 weeks?
He played in the
Big Ten
championship. I thought
That
he
was
got
just 1
put
week?
in the big. He got put into the
No,
Big
no,
Ten
no. He had
championship.
2
I
weeks.
believe.
I thought.
He had 2
2
weeks. I think he might have
Maybe.
played Michigan and then the championship game.
Yeah.
But he
But,
proved
dude,
in those 2 games that he was a baller, right? So
Yeah.
like you're not really
Dude, they
missing
won
out
the
on that much.
championship, right? They won the
Yeah,
championship.
they won the
they did.
championship, and I'm
Well,
only saying
it's
that to
a-
say that Florida State's quarterback hasn't shown that he can ball out yet.
Yeah, hell no.
No, he ain't even
Hell no.
half the quarterback Cordell Jones
Exactly,
was.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Bro, that boy was a big ass
also,
hoss.
Like I mentioned,
That was a big
last
ass
week,
boy.
which I'm sure there's going to be other guys, but like that team had freaking Michael Thomas and Ezekiel Elliott. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's crazy.
So like,
but
that's
Florida State does have Keon Coleman
Yeah.
and like Michael Wilson, so like,
Yeah.
and they
you
do
gotta
have
people
like
to
really good.
throw Coleman the ball.
Yeah, Trey Benson.
I
mean, they
agree.
got those
I agree.
guys,
Did
but-
you see their
but yeah,
offense though? Like
so
how
here's
their
the thing,
offense was
though.
rolling. Like Keon Coleman didn't even get the ball that much in the first half, or even the whole
Yes.
game. I don't even remember
Yeah.
how the game went, but like it wasn't like they were like. If I'm Florida State, aren't you just sitting there? I'm just peppering your best guy up, like trying to get him open,
sure.
trying to get him
Screens.
balls. Like it doesn't matter. Wide receiver screen, slant, little fucking out route. Just get his hands on the ball.
Yeah.
They didn't do it at all. Like they weren't trying to pepper him up at all. It was like they were honestly trying to go away from him. I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. That game was just weird. But are you guys ready to hop on into the upcoming week?
Yep.
We got a big week ahead of us.
Ready to go.
Let's
Big
do it,
week.
boys. Let's do it. Games of the week. We already got this set up for us. I love it. We have Alabama and Georgia playing in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It is a 6-point spread right now. UGA favored. I think it opened up at around 5. That's the first time I saw it. Brennan said he might have saw it at 3.5. I didn't see it at that, but if it was
that
at
was when they
3.5,
first announced it. That was when they first announced it, like what 2 or 3 weeks ago. Whenever it like Alabama and Georgia were in the SEC championship, like we knew they were going to be in there. I think an early line to open at 3.5.
Right. Yeah. That might be true.
Yeah.
I don't think we couldn't touch it though until this week.
no.
So that's why.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying though. Now, obviously, if you look at these teams on paper, these are very close teams and talent wise. This year, you had Bama struggle a little bit in the beginning of the season and took them a second to find their footing. People forget it also took Georgia a little bit to find their footing. They struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season. So you look at these two teams and see where they are right now in the present. Okay, Jalen Milroe has improved. He's been incredible. That's a great word, Brennan.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is he has improved so much over the past couple of weeks. I've loved the way that he has started to dissect the game a little bit and the way he's reading things. It's been a lot better. That was a struggle of his in the beginning, kind of mid-season. He was not reading things correctly or not reading defenses. He was getting things wrong, guessing, and you can't guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's gotten a lot better, and they've gotten a lot better at teaching him certain things and also letting him, like, not putting him in bad situations. Like, they're not putting him in situations where he has to dissect things and read things all, like, as much as a Bryce was or as Mac Jones was, right? It's a little bit different how they're putting him in there. And that's how you have to kind of change your offense sometimes for your guys. You have to change it around and make sure that your guys are understanding everything correctly. Now, on the Georgia side of things, let's kind of go over there. Georgia didn't play their best 3 players on offense last week. Brock Bowers didn't play. Ladd McConkey, their right tackle. Amarius Mims didn't play.
Cocky as
so,
shit.
I'm not being cocky.
No,
I'm
was
saying,
cocky as shit by Kirby. We were talking about that before the show.
Oh, no. Yeah, that was extremely, like, slap in the face. Like, we don't give a shit about Georgia Tech. We're gonna beat you guys without our first round talents. So that was incredible. Just incredible talk shit move, basically, by Kirby. But I also wanted to kind of bring this up before we kind of dove into this. And I thought it was really awesome to kind of dissect this. You have Georgia, who has, although like struggled a little bit against the quarterback run, right? And it's really taken, like, people in the media especially have been like, hey, Georgia's really struggling against these running quarterbacks. Like, how are they going to fare against a Jalen Milroe guy who's getting, 100 yards a game, 100 yards plus a game rushing? And I think a big difference that people need to understand is there's a difference between a quarterback who is running designed runs and a quarterback that is scrambling. We've struggled with designed runs with quarterbacks a little bit. We have. That's straight up true. The difference is Jalen Milroe's scrambling, at a 80% clip of what these other guys are doing. They're doing design runs. Nick Saban's not going to put his quarterback in that situation, right? He's not going to do that. He's not going to put his guy in a situation like Jackson Dart where he's getting hit 9-10 times a game hard as fuck.
I don't know.
Like if you think If you think Jalen Milroe is taking that hit against that Auburn guy 10 times in a game, you're out of your mind. He's not taking that hit 10 times.
Is Jalen Milroe taking that hit, or is he fucking laying the wood on somebody? Because a lot of times the other guy ends up hurt on the field. I don't care.
Hey, Brennan, you also got to admit, I think he knows how to walk off a hit too. I think he knows how to take a hit and walk it off. I think that's still hurting a little bit. I think it's still hurting him a little bit. But I will say this: I think obviously. I did want to speak about this. I mean, he had over 100 yards last game in the Auburn game. 12 of those were scrambles out of his 18 rushing attempts. Mm-hmm. That's big. That's a huge thing when it comes down to, are they putting him in a situation where he's constantly running, and what does Georgia struggle against? It's the guy they're going design quarterback runs. Yeah. He's scrambling a lot more than he's actually doing design runs. Georgia actually is not struggling against scrambling quarterbacks. We actually have contained scrambling quarterbacks really well. That's one thing that we've always done, is contain guys really well. In the past 3 years, we've contained quarterbacks who are scramblers pretty well. So that's just something I wanted to bring up in this game, and I think that it is going to be a factor, Jalen Milroe's legs. But I do think it's going to be maintained a little bit more than people think. I don't think you're going to see Georgia get fucking gashed for 150, 200 yards by Jalen Milroe. At least I hope not. I hope he doesn't scramble for that much. But I don't think they're going to do as many design runs as people think. But yeah, go ahead, Brennan, with what you want to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd say Georgia is the better all around team. Yes, we line up. I think we do line up physically with y'all, but I think both teams could really use the same strategy in terms of, like, Alabama we have a better pass rush than Georgia does, I think. But Alabama has got to get after Carson Beck. We can't let him sit behind the pocket for 4 or 5 seconds and just dissect our defense. I mean, because it's happened to us for sure. I mean, Auburn on a few plays last week, I mean, guys just wide open. I'm like, dude, what are we doing?
But he was also sitting there for like 5 seconds. Yeah. Like, why is he having that much time?
But I think Georgia has to do the same thing, because if you get after Jalen Milroe, I will say it, like, if you get after him and make him freak out a little bit, he's going to make a dumb decision and he's going to throw an interception.
But not if you're blitzing like a cat blitz, just one guy behind your defensive end. That's not where he freaks out. He freaks out when you mush his shit. When you put 2 linebackers in the middle and you push them. When you have 2 linebackers in the middle and you push them up the gap, right? Yeah. He gets confused and really flustered when there's 3-4 guys in his face right here. Not when it's like one guy coming off the side. He's going to spin out of that, or he's going to get around that guy. That pressure doesn't affect him.
He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in college football right now. I mean, I will say, me and my brother are sitting there watching the game last week, and it's like his pocket presence sometimes. He just has no idea somebody's coming around from behind him, and we're like, dude, how do you not feel that guy there? Like, move out of the pocket. And so he's just got to kind of recognize those things. And we'll just say it, typical underdog story, man. Gotta control possession of the game. Can't turn over the ball, and got to create turnovers of your own. That's the only chance we're going to have in this game. But, I mean, I do like what I see on Georgia. Just had a few struggle games this year. It's not like we're going to this game where Georgia just absolutely killed everybody in the season. I mean, I think we are the best team that they've played all season. So if anybody's going to beat them, I think it is us. But
it's what the Ole Miss guy said. It's you're a good team when Georgia actually gives a shit about beating your ass. Exactly. So that's the thing you got to worry about is Bama. It's like Georgia gives a fuck. They're going to give a fuck this game.
Let's give Rich an opportunity to talk now that both of us, Georgia and I,
So we got the unbiased opinion coming in here.
Unbiased opinion.
Let's see. Okay, so Georgia's coming in real healthy. They did sit their best 3 players to give them, a little break last game. I think, Georgia's coming in. They're going to have some chemistry with Ladd. Brock's going to be back. That run game, Kendall Milton is coming around. He's looking really, really good recently. And I think Auburn actually has given you the what's it called? The fucking blueprint on kind of how to play these two teams. I mean, Alabama, they gashed them with the run last week. Like that off the edge run. It's kind of like a zone. Sometimes it's power offense.
Off tackle.
Yeah, off tackle. I mean, they gashed them and they got after Milroe's ass. And, you know, they should have won that game, but you know, they played the worst defense ever. And I think Georgia can do a lot of the same. I think Georgia's corners can keep up with the deep ball that Milroe is going to throw this game. But it does come down to the line of scrimmage when it's this close, and turnover battle. It's the same as Michigan, Ohio State, and not the same. It's
way better offenses, though.
Super Bowl of the South, but you know, it's going to come down to turnovers, and it's going to be a game of inches. I think. I mean, these are
absolutely
maybe two of the top 4 teams in football. So we'll
I agree
We'll
wholeheartedly.
Yep. What's the next game we got going on?
Yeah, we got Washington and Oregon. This is huge, man. I mean, this is one we've been talking about since we started, this show, mainly because we think that Oregon is a better team. And Vegas also agrees with us. Vegas has them as a 9.5-point favorite, and they've lost to the fucking team. Yep. So imagine if this was Oregon at home. They'd be a 13-point favorite almost. That's nuts. So something you got to look at with what Vegas is thinking as well. I don't think they're really trying to trick you here. I think it also could be a 7-point game. Don't get me wrong, but Oregon also could run away with it. Couple points I wanted to bring up. Washington has barely obviously scraped by past couple games. Ever since they beat Oregon, really, it's kind of been like a lethargic offense. And they've had big plays, obviously, don't get me wrong. They've had those big plays and those big explosives. But it hasn't been consistent dominance like Oregon has had. They have consistently dominated everybody they've played and fucked everybody up. There's a difference. So do you trust the Oregon team who has only gotten better in November? Or do you trust Washington who has only descended since they've played Oregon? So it's a battle of who's going to be good now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. This is a revenge game. I mean, Oregon doesn't think they should have lost that first game. I think it, like we talked about earlier, coaching mistakes. I don't think Dan Lanning makes those same coaching mistakes going for 4th downs on his own side of the field. It's like, man, just punt the ball and trust your defense. They got top 3 quarterback in the country in Bo Nix, and he's throwing 77% completion rate right now. Absolutely nuts.
Dude, he's probably going to win the Heisman.
He's thrown 2 interceptions this year. I disagree. I think Jaden Daniels should win it. If they would have just not lost as many games, but dude,
I think. But you're on a 3-loss team though. It kind of sucks.
We could have another segment for this. We'll
talk about that next week.
I know, but I just want to say this real quick. Is the Heisman supposed to go to the most valuable player and on one of the best teams, or is it supposed to go to just the best player in general?
That's an argument you'd have to make. There's just sometimes stats. That's like when Johnny Manziel won it with 2 or 3 losses in a season. They beat Alabama, so that's probably where his Heisman kind of came from. But it was just
because his Heisman moment was that game.
It's because his stats were insane, dude. You look at Jaden Daniels' stats. I was looking at it comparison to Jalen Milroe.
Better than Joe Burrow's.
I was like, Milroe's probably got like good rushing like stats against Jaden Daniels, and dude, Jaden Daniels has only rushed the ball 10 more times than Jalen Milroe. Jaden Daniels has like 600 more yards. Like it's insane. I was like, how do you even have that many more yards?
But do you know how many times he's cut off? He's like cut that shit loose and gone for 80. He does that shit
exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like Jalen Milroe had like 650 yards. Jaden Daniels had 1,100 rushing yards. I'm like, what in the fuck? That's insane. Most starting running backs don't even have that many rushing yards.
How crazy was that game they had together? Like that LSU Alabama game was just score. It's
like a second Iron Bowl for us at this point. It's like we have 2 of those.
I know, dude. It kind of sucks that you have to play them every year now, just because of how good they are. Like it's just a crazy game.
Anytime we go into Death Valley, I'm scared. That's for sure.
Rich, go ahead. We're talking about Oregon and Washington. Somehow we got on fucking LSU and Bama.
I mean, that shows you how much concern we have for Oregon in this game, though. I will say one thing,
true.
to kind of back Washington. their defense have had to lean on their defense a little bit in this stretch. So, is their defense playing better or are they playing bad offenses?
Yeah, but it's not like they're getting the ball less.
Yeah, I know.
They're not getting the ball less, and they're just not they're not having those complete games that they were having earlier in the year.
But they've had to lean on their defenses. I think the win last week was more of a defensive game than an offensive game.
Yeah.
But that being said, Oregon is the much more physical team. They've been clocking people, and I think the winner of this game will probably get the Heisman, just to end y'all's debate over there. It's either going to be Penix or Bo Nix, because this is the Heisman moment. I mean, right here.
I mean, that's the truth. It sucks for Jaden Daniels because his stats were crazy. I think he has better stats than Joe Burrow had, which is fucking nuts.
It's insane.
Like, I think with like total yards and total touchdowns, he has more.
This is the Heisman game, like this is the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like now you have a Heisman game. Now you have the number like 2 and 3 in the Heisman race right now. Bo Nix goes out and throws for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards. Go ahead and kiss it goodbye, Jaden Daniels. Kiss it goodbye. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if they both go out there and struggle a little bit and throw like 2 touchdowns, interception, both each, Jaden Daniels might win. Like that's the thing. It's like I think one of these guys has to fucking ball out, and whoever balls out could win the Heisman. That's a good point, Rich. I like that a lot.
Great.
Let's go to the next game. We have Oklahoma State against Texas. I don't know. I don't want to talk about this game because I don't give a shit. But I'll talk about it because it's a
they're a number 4 team. Come on, man.
No, but that's the thing. I think that, and dude, it's so big that I didn't even want to talk about the Washington-Oregon game. But because I think that Texas is just that much better than Oklahoma State. Now, again, it's what we come back to on our previous weeks. Texas needs to really put their foot down on the pedal against Oklahoma State and beat their ass if they want to get in, right? They have to beat their ass. They have to have Florida State lose or win by 3 or something like that against Louisville. Now, if they go out if Florida State goes out there and blows Louisville out, whatever, see it, Texas. But I think if Texas comes out here and beats Oklahoma State sound and by like 17 to 21 points, even by 14, I think would be okay. But if they at least cover this spread, the committee has something to look forward to. They're clicking on all cylinders. Their offense is clicking. Their defense is playing really aggressive. And Sark is really pushing the pedal. So I'd like to see them do that again this week and get into the college football playoffs. So our picks are correct. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, all we can pray for in this game is some mullet magic. There's no other.
Yeah.
There's no other thing going to happen in this game other than that. I mean, Oklahoma State, since that Oklahoma win, has just looked awful. I mean, purely awful. So, and Texas is coming back around after a few struggling games. So I have very, very little hopes, like on a scale of 1 to 10 of how confident am I that Oklahoma State can get an upset here. It's probably a 0.7. So that's where I'm at on this game. Don't need to talk about it much more.
Yeah, I agree completely with those points. I think Texas is on the upslope, and Oklahoma State, since that Oklahoma game, has just not looked good. The run game's not there. I mean, they just played
Ollie Gordon.
BYU, I thought Ollie Gordon was that dude. But
he is that dude, though.
He is that dude, but he can't carry the whole offense. And so
I mean, dude, he run for 230 yards last week or some shit. Like,
I saw Oklahoma State's QB is 10 touchdowns to 11 interceptions this season. So that ain't going to cut
ever since the Oklahoma game. When I said I was riding the mullet until he breaks down, he broke down. So
that motherfucker on one wheel. Okay. So, let's go to this Louisville Florida State game. I'm glad we didn't spend a lot of time on that bullshit game.
Yeah.
Imagine Oklahoma State beats the fuck out of Texas. We're gonna have to clip that. We're gonna have to clip that. So my main points on this is, can Florida State produce and generate offense against this Louisville defense? Louisville's defense is actually really good. They held Kentucky, obviously, in the first part of this game last week. And then, the floodgates kind of opened when mistakes were being made offensively, turning over the ball. That's my second point is Louisville can't turn over the ball this game because you can't let an offense like Florida State, who struggled, and don't have their starting quarterback, get momentum and get easy touchdowns, easy field goal, anything like that. You can't give that to them because you can win this game and ruin their college football playoff hopes if you just play sound football and do not turn over this ball. They cannot be negative honestly, I think they could be negative in the turnover margin. I think they could lose it by 1 or 2 and still win this game. That's how confident I am in Louisville's offense.
Just can't be on your own side of the field. Give Florida State the ball
right.
Like
it can't be an easy. Line. Yes, I agree. It's like a turnover where like you throw a pick and they get the ball at like the 50 or like their 40 or something,
exactly,
and they still have to drive at 60. That's something where I feel a little comfortable with the turnover or something like that. But if you give them, if you muff a punt or do what Auburn did, or you throw a pick 6 or something like that, then it hurts you because Florida State's not a great team offensively now without their quarterback. Yep. And now you're struggling. You can't struggle to get points against this defense, this Florida State defense, because it is decent, but that's the problem is you can't give them free things. Rich, you got anything on this one?
Yeah. This is going to have to be a Rodemaker game. Louisville just held somebody to 86 rushing yards. So I can't imagine the rush defense got any worse in the rankings. And, that's all I got. If Florida State can run the ball effectively, then it's go Noles in the playoffs, I guess. That's about it.
Yeah, no, that's literally pretty much the main point I had is with this Louisville run defense. It's like this is where Rodemaker is actually going to have to make a difference. You can't, with a defense that's going to hold you to 100 yards rushing or less, you can't only throw for 143 yards and beat this team in this offense. Maybe you can beat an awful Florida team that can only score 15 points after putting up 12 in the first quarter or first half. But yeah, this team, this Louisville team is going to score. And if you can't run the ball against them, you're going to have to throw it. And that'll be interesting to see, to put that pressure on Rodemaker to actually have to win a game instead of them just kind of skating by on whatever they can skate by on. So I think Keon Coleman's they're going to have to target Keon Coleman on that outside. They're going to have to try to get after him.
You got to get him involved again.
Yeah. Yeah. You just
can't be like last game.
You can't have one catch and you win this game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just,
exactly. You can't struggle to get him the ball and expect to win this game because this team is so much better than Florida.
Yeah.
So much better. So, and I think their defense is so much better than Florida's as well, but their offense is so much more explosive. This quarterback's going to throw for more than 86 yards. I fucking promise you. I promise you that.
He's played better the last couple of weeks. He wasn't much to start the year, but he's come around, Plummer.
But dude, he's throwing for like 250 a game.
Yeah.
That's all you need is a quarterback to throw for that, an average around that and get you some points. But I'm excited for that one. That's going to be a huge game. Let's go on into our, ending segment of the week. We have our best bets of the week.
Segment.
It's one of our favorite segments. I actually am turning the ship around for myself, buddy. Wait. Does that say I'm 3-5? Hold on. I should be 3-4-1, correct? Because I pushed.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted. Sorry, that's producer Christian. Producer Christian. He messed that one up. I just wanted to make sure y'all knew I wasn't that far under 500. I'm coming. Don't forget, I'm coming. Okay. So, I had Mississippi or Ole Miss -10 against Mississippi State. They pushed. They struggled in the first half to get the ball moving. Don't really know what the fuck was going on and why they couldn't move the ball in that game. I guess rivalry game, and you have to just give Mississippi State props for playing without their head coach and getting that done. And then Texas -13 might have been the easiest thing I've ever done in my entire life. They won by 50. Brennan didn't Brennan? I'll get to you, Rich. I don't want to shut your mouth right now. But Missouri covered for Brennan in a big way. That was huge for the pod, especially to get Brennan back into moving in the right direction. And then Ohio State was a big kind of jump for Brennan. He kind of wanted to make a big stand, and hopefully that was going to turn out for a win for him. That looked great. It didn't actually turn out, so I get it, but we'll see how it turns out. Thank you. But yeah, so that Ohio State game didn't really turn out for Brennan, but let's go on to Rich's picks. I'm going to be honest with you, Rich. It didn't. The Texas A&M actually looked okay for majority of the game. I thought you actually were going to pull that one off.
I thought I was too, man. How do you blow? It's up 24-14, and Zach was like, "Oh, hey guys, we're hitting bets this week." And I texted, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna be 4-0-1 going into the last game." And from that point on, Ohio State started shit in the bed. Texas A&M did not score. It was like 24 unanswered for Texas A&M, and they covered by 12, or they lost by 12. So
and you had them 11.5. That's brutal. That's a brutal loss.
Brutal. And the line came at 12.5 later. Fuck Drake May. That's all I gotta say. We've tried to ride Heisman 2 weeks in a row, or potential Heisman candidates at the beginning of the season.
I think you're just right now. You're riding like NFL talent.
Yeah,
you're trying to ride NFL guys.
I thought NC State was kind of playing over their heads, and I was going to ride an NFL talented quarterback, and they've disappointed me 2 weeks in a row. So.
Hey, I'm gonna let you know something. I definitely picked NC State plus 2.5.
It's okay. It's okay. That was the smart pick.
I won that
obviously.
One, I will say I did pull that off. This week,
do a little full pod picks, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna kind of switch it up a little bit. This week we're gonna go.
These, so everybody knows I did not pick these.
This week it was a majority of Brennan and myself. Rich was not allowed because we have banned him for 1 week from betting for his awful start to the season. If we would have started at the beginning of the season, I will tell you, I think everyone's numbers would be way better. But it is the end of the season. Vegas is very on their shit right now, and that happens. Yeah. Go ahead and put them on there for me, producer Christian. I kind of forgot what we had. Okay, so we got Texas minus 13.5. Love this. I think that Texas handles business. I think they need to handle business. We need this bet to hit for our kind of playoff to look how we want. And the same thing with Oregon. We have Oregon minus 9.5 against Washington. We kind of need them to take care of business to be in the playoff as well, and take some spots away from some other people. So, any thoughts on this, guys, or any reasoning why you think we took this?
Yeah, as a Bama fan, I'd like to see them both lose, but I'm biased on the show, so gotta.
This is a straight. We're whipping it out and putting our money where our mouth is. And I think they're both great bets.
Yeah, so. A 10-unit max bets here.
Actually, I don't.
No. 0.5 unit.
This is official financial advice. Take these bets. Just kidding. We can't say that.
You got to blur that out. You got to blur that out.
Just bleep the whole thing. Did we tell you our units are $10 total? 0.5 units.
No. All right. Well, hey boys, it's been a great couple weeks having the pod, talking about some coming up college football playoff predictions, talking about games that have happened that have really changed the aspect of college football right now. We have a really good week this weekend, championship weekend. I'm really excited for us to jump into it and kind of watch this together. Hopefully we will see you guys next week and have our bets cash. You can follow us on Twitter as well. I think everything will be in the comment section below, kind of our link for our Twitter, our Instagram, all of this stuff. So you can kind of follow into that and follow us and look at our units for the week. We also have an NFL show that comes out every Thursday, and our show obviously comes out Wednesday at 11. Keep watching, boys. Keep liking and subscribing, commenting anything you guys want to see in the future. And we hope you come back and see us soon. See you boys later.
Peace out.